I like how that slap right there. You got me feeling real Orange Juice Jones, man. It's so great lacing here. Midwest finesse now, let's be clear. Northern exposure, new frontier. Good rhymes, good times, and yes, it's good gear. We need some MVPs in here. Giannis and Yelich had some good years. No time faking it, we about making it. That glass ceiling stuff, yo, I'm all about breaking it. From a small town, but I got big dreams. Chamber diet up now, get more greens. Where the good fiber, the flow on cyber. Vamos los flamingos, flock tighter. All we do is give that good try. Goes ahead and playlist on Spotify. Do do just like Shy. It's that 9 simple word so fly.
What is up, flock and friends? It's Rob Chappell with another edition of the 608 Soccer Show. With me in the co-pilot chair, as always, Ethan Maurice. How you doing, sir?
Good. What a fun game. Always a nice trip to Portland. Probably one of the top of my away days to go to, and we escaped with 3 points.
Yeah, and a good bounce back week after the loss to Boise to end the long unbeaten streak. We get a draw and a win, both of which could have been better, probably, but we'll take it, right?
Yes.
A little bit later in the show, we're going to welcome a voice that will be very familiar to anybody who's been to Breese-Stevens Field, and that is Chris Pennant, the voice of the Mingos, the guy who came up with the "You shall not score" in the voice of Gandalf, which I think is very funny. We'll ask him about that. A couple things to note. First of all, again, circle September 12th on your calendar and get your tickets now. I made a short link for you. So we'll put the link in the show notes, but also if you go to bit.ly/Madison365, that'll take you straight to where you can get tickets. They're $20 plus fees, so it's like $24. They're in section 112, and Madison 365, your favorite nonprofit local news outlet, and the content sort of production and distribution partner of 608 Soccer Show will get a cut of that. So that's your way to contribute to local nonprofit media. And we'll be there. We'll have a little table and stuff. You can stop by and say hi. And that'll be great. So look for that in the show notes as well as in your inbox. A couple of news items to mention. First of all, I think this came out after we recorded our last full show, but that Matt Glazer was Coach of the Month for July, which we predicted. You win 5 games in 1 month, that is going to be pretty likely.
Yes.
Right? JT Harms had save of the week for a save against Boise that ultimately didn't help us win the game, but which was still a pretty amazing save at the end of the match. And this week, it's just out like just a half hour ago as we were recording that Roman Torres made team of the week for this week. The other big thing coming out of the league that took me by surprise was that Fort Wayne sold Lilian Rico to San Antonio.
Yeah, I saw that. I feel pretty bad for Fort Wayne.
Yeah, I did too. I was surprised because you'd expect it if they were lower in the table. You know, if they were like kind of going to throw the towel in on this season, make some money, get ready for next season. Like if Cosmos were going to sell Ajmer Spengler, you know, this great player who's on a team that's not going to do anything this season, you might as well get something for him. But to see Fort Wayne is right in the mix of getting into the playoffs and to sell off one of their most important pieces, that San Antonio must have come with a big bucket of cash.
Yeah, somebody said it was near the League One record, but that's kind of always the line that they use to get out of actually telling us how much the transfer fee is.
And they've never told us what the record is. Right. So I'm going to guess, knowing some of the other fees that have been disclosed, like we know Josh Winder was sold, Lucidi sold him to Benfica for $1.2 million. Elijah Winder they sold to LA Galaxy for $400,000. So it's substantially less than that. So to go from League One to Championship, it's going to be less than $100,000 probably, but maybe close to that, maybe close to 6 figures. And San Antonio needs the help. I mean, they're right there. They're on the bubble kind of, but they need a little bit of extra juice. I think he was not in the lineup when they played El Paso on Saturday. So we'll see when they finally when he gets integrated into San Antonio or what. But
if you want to be really cynical, this would also help Fort Wayne avoid the expense of a road playoff game. I know some teams like to get out of paying that bill. And that makes sense for a team of ninth.
You kind of want to shoot to finish ninth, so you can be like, oh dang it, we were almost there, but we don't have to pay to travel.
And in your first year, I think the fans will accept that there's nowhere to go but up. So
sure. And again, when you're in that entrepreneurial mindset, and somebody offers you $75,000 or $100,000 for a player, take it. And especially he's a rookie, he's a new player in the league. It's great for him to get the jump up. But a little surprising, but good for everybody. All right, so let's talk about this first game on Wednesday. Ends up being a draw, 1-1. So we remain unbeaten at home. It was kind of a scrappy one, wasn't it? What'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I felt pretty disappointed, to be honest. And one of my favorite parts about watching soccer in the flock is that they don't let you get too far down. If I had watched this at home by myself, I probably would have been pretty sad because Greenville is not the kind of team that you want to draw to. I think on the pod last week I said a draw is a loss for Madison. That is kind of how it felt. But JT Harms came up big with a huge save in the 94th minute or something to make you feel like, oh, we at least get out of here with a point,
And we talked to Matt Glazer after the match. He seemed pretty satisfied. It was a little bit unlucky at the end. That as you kind of talked last week about the Boise game and how the game plan kind of went in our favor, and it just didn't fall our way. I felt kind of the same about this one, that we had a lot of late chances. Those late goals in the last 15 to 20 minutes is really where we've made our money this year. And we did have those chances. And they just, Amal Knight decided to play really well as a goalkeeper, made a couple of big stops. We missed a couple, just kind of the luck, again, didn't fall our way, but we still come out with a point.
Yeah, that goal by Hakeem Karamoko that was judged offside, I think there was actually two. One of them we felt was pretty clearly onside. The other one we felt like was an okay call. But that right there is kind of the difference, especially in League One.
Yeah, for sure. Could be. Now, we did have our best pivot pairing, Roman Torres and Jackson Castro. Toure, of course, was out because of the red card. So it was Colin McCamey, Jalen Shannon, and Kevin Carmichael in the back. Jelani Forbes and Eddie Majomo were on the wings, but they didn't do a lot. Like there was not a lot of action on the wings. I feel like we could have used those wide areas a little better, maybe.
Yep.
I don't know. The thing about Colin McCamey is that he's played a kind of midfield role at times, and about 20 minutes in, he had kind of wandered up that way a little bit and left us with only two at the back, and that's kind of what let Greenville unlock us for their goal.
Yep.
William Akio kind of got going downhill, and there were two defenders back there, so Shannon and Carmichael were basically back there by themselves, and so they both turned their attention to Akio as he's kind of coming into the box and left Muba Noor alone on the left. And we should mention Shadow Wolf, our friend from the Fallen Leaves podcast, our German friend, mentioned him as a threat. He's on a 25-day contract with them. I would imagine with the number of goals he scored, they're going to link him for the rest of the season. They're crazy if they don't. But you left that guy alone basically on the left. And Carmichael stayed home in the center of the box, which is the right thing to do. And Torres was chasing Akio, and Shannon was trying to stop him, and he just dribbled right between them. Got a shot off, and Harms made a great save on that first ball, but sort of an unlucky deflection, a rebound that fell basically right to Noor, and he was able to poke it in, and now we're playing from behind.
Yeah, and that's the worst thing to do when you have Greenville to come to town, because they can't wait to get behind and sit 11 men behind the ball and stoke up the pressure. You were right about Muba Noor too. He scored again against Knoxville. So if you're on a 25-day contract and you score against Madison and Knoxville, feels like that's just about that's the thing you got to do to get signed full time. If you're not getting signed full time after that, what can you do?
Right, exactly. So again, it's 1-0 to Greenville, and you feel like here we go, because it was a 1-0 result in Greenville, wasn't it? So but you're hoping that we're resilient. Didn't hang any heads, I don't think. Got a couple of chances. Later in the first half, Jelani Forbes earns a foul. Roman Torres puts a free kick in just as he does, drops it exactly where it needs to be. And it's funny if you're watching it on the replay, everybody's standing still, and just this head comes flying up from, it's popping up kind of out of nowhere. It's Hakeem Karamoko. And that was one where he didn't just redirect it. He actually had to put a little juice behind it, and he really snapped his head and hit it straight down into the ground, and bounced it in, and nothing Amalnek could do about it. That's how you score a header, kids.
He's come on really strong. Carmichael has gotten a little bit quiet lately, but you don't even miss him because you've got Karamoko scoring left and right. So,
and he, after he scored in Portland, it was he's scored in every game that he's started.
That's right.
Hakeem has. So he's doing great. We're going to talk more about Hakeem because there's some concern about him after he went off injured. But it felt to me like in the second half, the legs were a little bit heavy, right?
For both teams.
It was a bit of a slog, which is, it's a midweek match. We just flew back from Idaho. You couldn't, as Matt was making the point, like in a week like this, you can't really train at all in any meaningful way, because you're traveling, and then you get your day off, mandated by the collective bargaining agreement, and then you can turn around and travel again. So and you can't really rest or recover either. Especially Jackson Castro, I thought at the very end of this match, you could see him pulling up a little bit. You could see him not making the really aggressive runs that he normally makes. And I thought he was just gassed, but it turns out he might have been like pushing through an injury at the end of that Greenville match.
Yeah, because he did not start in the following game.
Right, and he was actually listed as injured when they listed the injuries. They listed Derek Gebhardt and Jackson Castro.
That's right.
So at the end of Greenville, at the end of that match, we're out of subs. He took a knock or twinned something or pulled something and was pushing through it. So you got one of your best players playing 50%. It's not going to go great. But we did have some chances at the end. Jackson had one. Jelani Forbes had a pretty decent chance. Eddie Manjoma had a great chance and just couldn't convert at the end, which is we've had games where there's not any ideas, where there's not urgency, and it just doesn't feel like they're. This wasn't one of those. I feel like they were still doing everything they needed to do. It just couldn't get it in. And then, as you mentioned, JT Harms saved us a point in the 94th minute, 5th minute of stoppage. The ball comes in. It's a one-time shot, almost a deflection, and just from very close range, and the reaction time to make that save was just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. He keeps reminding us time and time again what a great pickup he's been all season.
Yeah.
Burned is playing great down there in Fort Wayne, but we don't miss him one bit because we've got a guy who sure might be better. And I remember listening to JT on New Dog Mazine. He gave them a pretty good hour-long interview, maybe even more than that. And one of the things that he talked about was, as a goalkeeper, you always got to know that you got to stay locked in for those last 10 minutes, because I treat every game like there's going to be a big save opportunity in the last 10 minutes. And this absolutely was that, and it was good for JT to be able to stay locked in for 94 minutes, and that's what earned us a point, really.
And I can't remember who I heard this from, but as a goalkeeper, it might have been JT, actually, now that I think about it, but that it's a tiring job, not because you're running a lot, but because you mentally have to be just on it and locked in for 94 minutes. Like you cannot let your concentration lapse. You cannot let your shoulders drop. You cannot relax during those 90 minutes. And he didn't. And the other thing is, during that long unbeaten streak, some of those games we had where we were so dominant, he didn't really have to make any big saves for like a long time. We didn't talk about him for a long time because he wasn't really tested. But when tested, he came up big in this one.
Yeah.
couple stats to throw around in this game, and then we'll get to the more fun one, the win in Portland. We had 61% possession, which is good. We had 20 shots to their 10. I mean, that's how dominant it was. That's how much it shouldn't have been a draw, frankly. 8 of ours were on target to 3 of theirs, which tells you how well Amal Knight played as the Greenville keeper. Touches in the opposition box, 42-12. Like, that's wild that this game ended 1-1. We were 57% accurate on long balls, which is great for the kind of buildup we're trying to do. We won 75% of the aerial duels, which, I mean, that's what happens when you add like 3 inches of height to your average
across the board,
across the roster. And that really came into play in Portland. And we can, anything else on this Greenville match, or should we just move on to the better one?
Yeah, well, I'd want to say Amal Knight is one of the best keepers in the league. He's also good at working the fans, not even in a malicious way, but he was nice to interact with them. But man, Brendan Fricky might have to go. He's about 40 years old, and he looks like a 3-legged dog, and he pulled up injured on every single play. Like,
from the very beginning of the match, like,
yeah,
the flock was kind of booing him like in the 6th minute or something, because he was already going down, wasting time, it seemed like.
Yeah, Brandon Fricky's number 5 is made of glass, which is crazy because I think he's League One Iron Man. I think he has like 20,000 minutes, but he looks like a guy who's played 20,000 minutes of soccer, and your body just can't hold up with that anymore. So somebody needs to take him out back and give him a retirement.
Yeah, we were in the League One podcaster group chat. We're trying to name everybody who's been in the league since 2019, or who. Not even since, but who started in League One in 2019 and is now in League One again. So we're counting Tumi Moshabani. Okay. We're counting Nick Moon, who went up to San Diego and then came back to Boise.
That's right.
But Brandon Fricky's one he's been in the league the whole time. And
with Greenville, right?
I don't think so. I think Greenville has 2 guys who have been with Greenville the entire time, Tyler Pollock and Evan Lee. I think Brandon Fricky was somewhere else. And then the only other person, here's some trivia to impress your friends at the bar this week. The third League One player who is still with the same team from 2019 is Walefi Rodriguez in Chattanooga. He doesn't play much anymore. So you don't see him that much, but the other thing I mentioned about Greenville, we make fun of them for every time the ball comes near their back line, they throw their arm up. Like, yes, to tell the ref there's offside, even when there's not. In the first half, their subs were already warming up, and they were doing that from the sideline. Every time the ball came into their half, the guys on the sideline are, hey, offside, it's offside, ref, come on, it's offside. Like, if that's your whole strategy, just give up. Just stop it.
Yeah, no kidding. Looks like you are right. Brandon Fricky was on Lansing Ignite in 2019 and transferred to Greenville in 2020.
Oh, wow. I didn't realize she'd been with Greenville that long. So you were close. So there's a handful of guys who are on that Lansing team. This will be fun. This will be fun to do. Maybe we can do this another day, but there's a handful of guys from that Lansing team that are either still in the league or back in the league. Thanks to Nate Miller.
Yeah.
Head coach of Boise, who keeps the same little crew of guys together wherever he goes. He was to San Diego and now back in Boise. All right. So let's talk about going to Portland. This is definitely an away day for me. Definitely want to go. We should organize a trip next year, maybe. And especially once they build their new stadium, that looks fantastic. But there was some chatter on Reddit about the Portland fans putting our fans to shame because they do the thing before the match where they all have their hands up and they clap together and they do the thing. Yeah. And it's the entire stadium that does it, which is kind of cool because, like, for us, the real rambunctiousness is all in the flock end, but Portland doesn't. They have a supporters group in the supporters section, but really the entire stadium gets into that sort of pregame and beginning of the second half tradition, which is it's pretty cool to see.
It sounds like some people in the grandstand want to get involved, but it's a little hard to do it by yourself. So flock end is going to have to figure out how to stretch their wings over there. But yeah, going to Portland looks like a lot of fun. I am excited for their new stadium, but I definitely want to get to Fitzpatrick Stadium before they leave there. That's going to be one of those things that I was there when they played here, But yeah, they look like a lot of fun. It's nice that they don't win too many games, so you have a lot of time going there and can pretty reliably count on getting 3 points. It sounds like they have some pretty good fan podcasts over there, so I'm excited to listen to some of that as the week goes on.
They have a new newsletter also. They like just started this week. It's called The Hearts Beat, and it's on Substack. And it is a retired journalist who says he's going to do daily coverage of Portland Hearts of Pine. I don't know how realistic that is, but he has a nice recap up of the of our match there as his first sort of post. So they're not only doing soccer good over there, they're doing soccer media well. They got the Fallen News podcast, they got the friggin' soccer show, and now they got this new newsletter, The Hearts Beat, which is fantastic. They also had 2 new players in the squad this week. They both Aiji Hata actually started, I think. Yep. He's Japanese, so he played in Japan with Masashi Wada, who has been injured for Portland. And he joins Portland on transfer from Houston Dynamo 2. So I would assume that he crossed paths with Joshua Boma and Steven Onarjiamfi, who both come to us from Houston Dynamo 2. And then the other one is Felipe Rodriguez Gentile. He's Argentinian. He's 19.
Okay.
Most recently on contract with Preston North End in England. They loaned him to AFC Clyde in the National League, and he helped them earn promotion. And then Preston cut him loose July 1st, so he's on just a regular contract here with the Hearts. And he came in later. He looked pretty promising, pretty bright. So we'll see how he fits in there. Speaking of Masashi Wada, you could feel his absence in their midfield, and you can also definitely be benefited from Titus Washington being injured and out. He's a big, strong striker, and they just didn't have any answer for our size, especially in the back line.
Yeah, I don't remember if it was Shadow Wolf or if it was Friggin' Soccer who told us that their midfield was weak, but watching for that, you could tell, it does look like your starting midfield is weak. That's how we would look if Roman Torres got injured, you know?
Yep, 100%, yep. Now, Castro, again, was injured for this one, so Colin McCamey took his place in the pivot, which is okay because Carvalho Torre was back. I felt like McCamey kind of disappeared in this one. He didn't have his best match, but that's all right. And again, with AJ Edwards and getting Kenyane on the wings this time, didn't utilize the wide areas that much, but kind of didn't need to.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like we were either strategically trying to absorb early, as Matt does sometimes, but also we were tired. Like third game in 9 days with 2 of them being away games.
Yep.
But it was all right. Portland didn't really offer much and then how long was this goal? Was like in the 20th minute or so. It wasn't that deep into the game.
Yeah.
And Peyton Kelleher on the broadcast was making note of the size difference. Like it was noticeable that our guys were just bigger than their guys.
Yeah.
And Gary Bailey, the color commentary guy, who was a Manchester United goalkeeper in like the Premier League days, like in the 80s.
Okay.
He's like, that's a real advantage on the aerial balls, just as Joshua Bowman's sending an aerial ball into the box for Hakeem Carmichaels to head it in. It's just like, you couldn't script it any better. But it felt like Portland was a little bit on I don't know, they were a little bit rooted to the ground. Like they were kind of static defensively. They weren't really doing much, but that ball in from Boma, I mean, every once in a while I'll say assist of the week should be a thing. And that was a gorgeous ball in, right?
Yeah, just a perfect delivery. Put it completely on a plate. It literally couldn't have been in a better spot. Karamoko was kind of drifting under it, and the ball took him away from his defender, so it was easy for him to kind of follow the ball, and it was right in that corridor of uncertainty between where a defender and a keeper might meet. It was absolutely perfect.
Yep. Right. And it was tantalizing in that like the keeper might have come out for it, but couldn't quite. It was in that perfect spot where the keeper can't grab it and he can't come out for it. So he's kind of rooted to his line. And Also the other thing is that Joshua Bolma got that ball and nobody stepped up to him, so he had plenty of time to look up and pick that ball out. So much so that actually afterwards, Gary Bailey, during the color commentary, referred to it as a set piece goal. Like he actually remembered it as a free kick, but it wasn't. It just felt like it because Bolma had so much time to stand there and look up and find that perfect pass. But defensive weakness aside, take nothing away from that assist or that finish. I mean, you gotta to put the ball perfectly like that, and then for Hakeem Carmichael to get up and put some power behind the header.
I don't know if we're ready to say that it was the best goal of the year, but it's certainly close for us. It's probably top 5.
Yes, it's one of those that we'll remember for sure. One thing that we could have done a little better was finish that penalty.
Yeah.
Hakeem Carmichael, it was Aji Hata actually that bundled Carmichael over in the box. No doubt, penalty call, right call. Portland didn't put up much of a stink about it. They knew it was a foul in the box. I'm not sure why Hakeem was taking it instead of Ryan Carmichael. He normally takes the penalties, but he lined up way to the right and not very far back. So there's almost no way he could go to the right with it. Like you knew he was going to go to the left with it, and he didn't elevate it enough, and he didn't put it close enough to the post to get around the goalkeeper. And Hunter Marsh is a very good goalkeeper and made a very good, strong save on it. So, oh well.
Yep, you're exactly right. It was a bad penalty. I am a big fan of letting the player who received the foul take the foul. We actually asked Fran on one of our previous podcasts if you could change any one rule about soccer, what would it be? I think if you asked me that rule, it should be the guy who receives the penalty should take the penalty. Nothing about a specialty penalty taker. That's ridiculous. So good for Glazer to give it to Carmichael, who earned it for himself. But if you're going to do that, got to take a good penalty, bro.
You want to make it like basketball.
Yes.
You want to make it like basketball where if your fouls, so the defenders then would know who the good penalty takers are and only foul the bad ones.
Exactly, right. None of this Harry Maguire in the box baiting for fouls. That's ridiculous.
Now, soon into the second half, Hakeem Carmichael went out with what appeared to be a hamstring. He was just sort of jogging after a ball that was going out of bounds and pulled up and grabbed the back of his left leg and sat down. That he has been injured enough in his career, like to know, okay, I'm going to sit down and I can't go anymore.
Yep. So
I'm hoping that it was just him knowing that feeling enough to stop and that it's not a serious injury. I'm concerned though, because a hamstring is a difficult injury to shake.
Yes. Yeah, and I don't know if he's got injury history on that hamstring either, but exactly like you said, he was ready to be done at that exact moment.
Yeah. And he's one, as I mentioned, he scored in every game that he started. He's a real weapon. The other guys talked about it in the post game last week, or 2 weeks ago, that he's the guy that you can just lob a long ball forward in his general direction, and he's going to get it, and he's going to outmuscle opponents for it, and that's a big weapon to have. And if we lose that, we'd really lose something significant. So fingers crossed, and well wishes are from us to Hakeem. Ryan Carmichael very nearly scored a bicycle. That was maybe the best legitimate bicycle attempt we've had this season.
Yeah, I think so. This season.
He actually, it was AJ Edwards' long throw in, gets headed up, and he actually made good contact with it and put it within, it was a little bit wide. It was low enough, but it went just wide and actually has some juice behind it, which is really not easy to do. And so that's the second Carmichael bicycle attempt this season, because Kevin had one a couple weeks ago. And had he hit it, we'd have to call him Carmichael the rest of the season. But he did get the goal, and he actually helped create the situation that led to the goal too, because it was JT Harms collected the ball in the box and just launched a punt 50 or 60 yards and toward Ryan Carmichael on the left wing. To take that long of a ball down off your chest so softly and so perfectly is just chef's kiss. Beautiful. And then he was able to get it over to Josh Bolma. He's moving centrally. He's fouled probably, about 27 yards from the goal?
Yeah, about 27.
Something like that.
Feels right.
And Ryan Carmichael, very, very similar to the previous free kick that he scored. Who was that against? Do you remember the free kick that he scored at home? Was that against Naples? Yes, I think it was right. Yep. And, sort of the same side of the field, real similar distance, up and over the wall. And I think Hunter Morris didn't see it until it was like over the wall. And by then it's way too late.
Yep, I agree.
And it was always curling away from him and basically curled it into the side netting, which I had to go pick my son up at soccer practice. So I had the game on my phone as I was waiting for him. And then when he got in the car, I handed the phone to him. And so he's watching this while we're driving home. And my son just goes, "Oh, what a goal." And I was like, I missed it. Damn it. But just gorgeous. Now that's his 9th in the league and 11th in all competitions.
That's
As
right.
we mentioned a couple weeks ago, the club record in a single season is 11 in the league and 12 in all competitions. That was Chris Pennant in 2023. So both of those he will, barring a unprecedented cold streak, he's going to smash those records. Don't you think?
I agree. I absolutely do agree. And it's possible that he ends up being the best Mingos striker of all time. I've been on the fence kind of for the last couple of weeks about Ryan Carmichael. There's a couple of guys on our team who are very obviously going to move up next year. And it's like, watch him while you got him. Love you while you're here. Can't wait to see what championship team you're on. Ryan Carmichael is not like that yet for me, but then he keeps doing stuff like this that it's going to be really hard for, teams like San Antonio or Hartford or Charleston or whoever looking down and thinking, oh, we might need a striker. Possibly we could be lucky enough to do the Luis Alvarez move where we sell Carmichael and then they loan him back to us for a year, something like that.
That would be snazzy.
Yeah, but I know with every goal he scores, it's one step further away from Ford Madison next year. But that's all right. I don't mean to be a doomer and a gloomer. If he wants to score 20 this year and move on, that's fine with me too.
And I'll be honest, I was skeptical of him coming into the season because you looked at his stats in his previous pro career with it was one of the MLS Next Pro teams. He wasn't putting up eye-popping numbers.
Yep.
And I was like, well, maybe Matt Cairns is seeing something that we're not seeing. And boy, that is true. Because he has, and he took a little while to come on. He played a role for a while there where he was more like a 10 and he was kind of creating and he's dropping in and creating connectivity between the midfield and the attack, and now suddenly is scoring goals at will, which is amazing. And the other thing, speaking about guys moving on, everybody that we have on contract, that not the loan guys, not Hakeem or Masterson or those loan guys. Everybody we have on contract, we have an option next year, so nobody's going to move up without us getting paid. So offers will come, and there's no question that Matt Cairns isn't gonna hold guys back if Roman Torres or Ryan Carmichael are ready to take the next step in their career. He's going to encourage that and he's going to let it happen.
Yep.
So you're right. So a lot of these guys are going to move up, but then I 100% trust Matt Cairns to find the next round of guys.
Yeah.
After this season.
Yeah. After this. Yeah.
Yeah. So that made it 2-1, and again, the sort of the way the game progressed favored Madison, because then we just had chance after chance after chance after chance to make it 3. Roman Torres had that giveaway at the back, and he took like two touches, and he had to get rid of it because the defense was collapsing. Blistering shot, and Hunter Morris again makes a great save. Kevin Carmichael had a chance. It was actually a corner. It went all the way to the far post. Kevin Carmichael got up over Ajihata, headed it down, and it was going in. But Mo
Yes.
Muhammad came in and like facing the goal, like overhead, kicked it, cleared it off the line.
Yeah.
And Roman Torres a second chance in the second half. Man, the skills on that guy. Like I had to watch this a few times because it's just so beautiful. The silkiest touches we've seen from him. I think it was a clearance that he collected about 40 yards away and just sliced it through about 4 defenders with a beautiful little pullback and from right to left and to get through. And you could criticize the finish a little bit. You could say he should have rolled it to the far post or something, but honestly, like you really put your laces to it right at the goalkeeper's head.
Mm-hmm.
That is very, very hard to save if it's coming like right over your head. So I think he made the right call. And Andre Morris's desperation swatted at it and got lucky. But he 100% deserved that goal, man.
Yeah. Yeah, what a great chance it was. All by himself too, manufactured
all
by himself.
Yeah. And we've seen him be the quarterback, to use the stupid football metaphor, to really control the tempo of matches, to unlock lines, to break lines, to spring to spring our whole build up. And to see that he also has that beautiful that Messi like touch when he needs it, just incredible. So then JT Camara gets sent off. This felt soft to me. What'd you think?
Yeah, probably. He wasn't on a yellow card at the time, right? This was just a straight red.
Yeah. Yep.
I don't think this is his first red against Madison either. If I recall correctly, he got sent off in a previous match.
Right. Last year he did, yeah.
And I don't know that he's played in a whole lot of matches, so I would love to say he's never finished a match against Madison. That would really crack me up. And remind me the new player's name, Ben
Augie.
Yeah, Ben Augie
Augie.
dusting him off and sending him away as if he was a little child 20 minutes into his own forward Madison career. Pretty funny.
JT Camara is so remarkable because he's so talented and such a goal-scoring threat, but he's 5'2".
Yeah.
So he just looks out of place.
That's right.
And when he was arguing with the ref, he's like, even with the ref, he had to like reach up to put his hands on the ref's shoulders and argue with him. But what happened basically was, I don't remember even whose ankle it was, but like somebody was going for a ball, he was going for the ball, and he got his studs on our guy's ankle, which usually you have to be a little bit higher up on the shin or the calf to get a red card. Yeah. By the letter of the law, it's studs up. It was, the boot is pretty high, it was a 1.5 to 2 feet off the ground. It wasn't a malicious studs up slide that you'd normally see as a, pure red card. So by the letter of the law, probably right. A bit harsh, I thought.
Yeah, he was pretty zealous going into it because it was his own turnover that caused it. So he passed the ball forward and then we passed it away. And I think it was Kerf who had, exactly right, his leg up in the air, and JT did catch him. JT caught him 2 feet off the turf, but Kerf had his foot in the air, 1.5 feet, so it was only, 6 inches up his leg. And I think just because he went into the challenge with so much fire, because it was his own turnover, is what really did it for him. I think he also has a history too. Like, I don't think that's JT's
he's a pretty spunky guy. So now they did get one back and made it interesting at the end. 87th minute, we're ahead 2-0. We're kind of tucked in. We had like 6 guys back, which then created that gap that you see sometimes between the back line and the midfield. And Diego Gonzalez picked up the ball there. And normally from there, the danger is you get a guy running downhill towards you. You don't think the guy's going to shoot from there, but he did. And I remember thinking as he was winding up to shoot, I was like, oh, this is sad that they're so desperate that they're just going to start shooting from here. And then suddenly it's in the back of the net. Like, what? How did this happen?
I know. I wish JT would have done a little bit better.
Mhm.
It's too bad JT's not 6'6" because he would have saved it if he was.
Right. It's like he didn't believe it either. Like he was a little bit late to react to it.
Yeah. I think it just kind of capped off really an incredible match with a ton of different skills, a bunch of different scoring chances. I think really 5 different scoring chances that were very exciting between
Mhm.
Bulma's big cross and goal, a direct free kick, the ball saved off the line, and then Roman Torres' attempt. So at least the Portland fans got one to really cheer about and, something to keep them coming
Mhm.
back to Fitzpatrick
Yeah.
Stadium.
They did make it interesting at the end because they had a couple more chances and they were really going for it at that point, but they never really threatened after that. I also want to shout out Claudel Ngubu, who was just bullying guys off the ball. Like he just is so strong and just pushing guys around. That was really fun to see. So that gets us 3 points. It gets us back into third place, both in the table and third place in points per match. So, looking, we're in a good spot as we go ahead, but this next match is going to be huge, right? We are down to we host Charlotte on Saturday. Charlotte, we're down to 1 game in hand on Omaha, and we're 5 points behind. So they're definitely within range to catch for the Shield or for the top spot on the table. Charlotte's in second, and we're 3 points behind them. So this game will determine second and third, basically. No, we were talking about before the other day that to finish, the difference between finishing second versus third is not that big a deal, I don't think, probably.
Yeah, well, second and third is a big deal because that's a second home playoff match. Third and fourth is the one that's not
true.
a huge deal.
Right. Okay. Mm-hmm.
I think this kind of determines who will have playoff home field advantage should Forward and Charlotte meet. I think it's going to be really hard for Forward to catch Charlotte if we lose this match being 6 points behind. Even after this match, there's 13 matches to go. So I'm definitely not saying anything is impossible. As much as I'd like to say this is a title decider, it's totally not. There's 14 matches to go. There's 42 points on offer yet.
Yeah.
But this is going to go a long way to, I think, the pride of the team. I think whichever team wins is going to get a huge moral boost. And if they can string a couple more wins together, it will really spur them on.
Yep. And that's, for me, it's exactly that. Just like you said, it's not so much about the moving from third to second on the table at this point in the season. It's more like this is a big test. Like we beat up on a lot of guys that were below us on the table in that long unbeaten run. And also early in the season, we beat Knoxville. They were a very good team. We beat Naples, who turned out not to be such a good team. But, can we rise to this occasion, to this challenge of this team that's really on kind of a tear? They've won 4 straight in the league. As we'll hear, they lost in the cup. But they've won 4 straight in the league. They have Suebo Maru and John Baquero, who are real significant threats. Luis Alvarez is their other big threat. He got injured during the cup match and he didn't play on Saturday, so I don't know if he'll be back this Saturday or not.
Yeah, okay.
We went there on May 26th. We lost 3-1.
Yep.
We got Steven Energy first round off and backflip when he scored, but then we gave him 3 after that. It was a pretty close for a 3-1 final. It was relatively close. I feel like we are a much better team now than we were in late May.
Yeah, and we've got home field advantage. I mean, maybe we'll have to dress them up like cows again and roll out the cow kits and really get all the voodoo going. But we're unbeaten at home. I think the way we've played away from home, if we want to be champions, we have to remain unbeaten at home. That's a thing that we've proven we can do. And here's, the best test yet.
I think the onus will be on our back line. Charlotte has scored 46 goals. They score a goal every 39 minutes.
That's insane.
That's a lot. They are not good on the road. They've got 10 wins at home, but only 3 on the road, which makes no sense because they don't have any home crowd to speak of.
Yeah.
Their average attendance is less than 1,000, and somehow they are unbeatable at home, but not good on the road. They got 3 losses, 3 wins, and 3 draws on the road. So it's definitely a game we can win. It's a game we can get a draw. A draw would probably be okay, honestly, if it's a well played draw. But I think it's a real chance to make another statement in this league and to knock off one of the big dogs that are having a really great season.
Yeah, just like you said, a goal every 39 minutes is pretty scary. I think we'll need a set-piece goal. I'm hoping for Kerfalo Toure. If this is the match to bring Turner Humphrey back, that would be really exciting. I don't know if that's the case or not. But yeah, I think we'll need something from a corner or a long throw.
For sure. All right, so that's the recap of the week. We're going to take a short pause, and when we come back, Chris Pennant will come straight from the Breese Stevens Field press box to our studio. Stay tuned. And joining us now, a voice you've heard many times this year, more than previous years, because there's a lot more goals to announce than we've had in previous years. The voice of the Mingos, Christopher Pennant. How you doing, sir?
Good, Rob, Ethan. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thanks for being here. I think people love this sort of behind the scenes stuff because, so most of it's just sort of a disembodied voice and we want to let people. You don't actually live in the press box; like you actually have a life. Out, you come to the game like we do and everything. So we just want to talk a little bit about that. Are you in Chicago?
Yes, I'm in. I live up on the north side of Chicago right now. So that's where I am right now.
And you commute up here for game days?
Yep. Yeah. Most of the time I'll drive up. My call time is an hour and a half before kickoff. So for a Saturday game that starts at 7, I've got to be there at 5:30. So I'll leave the city around 2. Head up I-90 and then get into town. Try to get in town a little early to give myself some extra time on the Wednesday night games, maybe a little earlier to beat an afternoon rush. But
sure.
I'll maybe hang around a bit, see, talk to some of the staff, and then head back home.
And what are you doing in that hour and a half before the game? Are you practicing pronunciations or how are you preparing? How do you prepare, I guess, for a game?
That's true. That's a lot of it. When I'm right, and I try to do this more often than not, unless I have some work conflict before the day before a game, I'll check the schedule and look up the team's roster and see if there's any difficult pronunciations. And I'll check just about everyone because there's some guys who have a name that you think, that's pronounced Charlie and it's pronounced like, Ashford or something like that.
Yeah.
So It's fun for League One because there's a little less spotlight, so you have to dig a little deeper. If they went to a college and the media guide had a pronunciation for them there, or if they've got the best one is if they have an interview something like this, and they say their own name out loud. That is the holy grail of yes, thank you so much, because announcers and like me and broadcasters do their best, but sometimes they get it wrong or they have bad information. So a lot of it is checking pronunciations, and I'll see who has the most starts, who has the most minutes, to see who's probably going to come in the game and be on the starting lineup. And then, I don't know, just kind of get a feel for the team.
Yeah, that makes sense. Is there a particular team or name that sticks out as they always have tough names?
Oh, that's a good question. The last team that we had in was that Greenville or was that Charlotte?
It was Greenville. Charlotte this coming weekend. This last home game was Greenville, yeah.
Okay, yeah. That was actually kind of a tough one. They had some names that were a little difficult. There was, I think when New York came in, they had a few Italian players. And I try to be exact, but there's only so much you can do with elocution if you're not used to the language. So, saying Luca Mastro Antonio is not always easy, and it's not always going to come across on the stadium PA microphone. So I do my absolute best, but those have been the ones that have really come up like, oh, that's a tough one. Actually, I really enjoyed when Luca Dorado was here, because I wanted to draw that out. It's a fun name to say with the assonance and just kind of the vowel sounds. This is the stuff that I think about that goes into this.
Yeah, that's exactly what we're looking for. That's why we wanted to interview you. Good.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I get the name that ends in O when they score. Like that's going to be
Yeah.
one that's going to drag out, right?
Stretch it out.
Awesome.
Stretch it out.
You also started, I maybe did last year, but I didn't notice, but you also started to sort of announce the goals in Spanish after.
Yeah.
Was that something new this year or was that last year?
It was this year. I'd been thinking about it, but it wasn't something that stuck or that I made a note to do. And I think just knowing that there are Spanish speaking fans that for forward or people who are coming in maybe to support the other team, when they had that game against the Chivas 2 a couple of years back, I remember thinking, I was like, oh, this would probably be helpful, because I studied Spanish in school for about 16 years. And even though my conversational Spanish isn't great, I know enough, and I wanted to bring that experience in too. So I'm trying to stretch that to the substitutions, to some of the other run of play things outside of goals. I was trying to do yellow cards last game, and it's a challenge for me. It's been fun.
And then that's not something the club asked you to do. That's just something you just started to add yourself.
No, honestly, this is why I enjoy Forward. It's not like, Chris, go up there and do what you want, but they give me free reign to experiment, to try some things. Like a couple games ago, so this year we have the second half promotion where Johnson Financial donates money for every save in the second half, and so JT's pretty much been 90 minutes guy every time,
right?
And you've seen how he's played. He's a great goalkeeper. And so we had that game, I think it was 3 weeks ago, and Ashley, who's up in the booth, who writes up the itinerary and checks in with me on lineups, and then if we have to make any changes, she was dying because I was like, I'm going to put a Lord of the Rings spin on this, and I said, you shall not score. And I heard the flock was really enjoying it, but Ashley's like, don't jinx us. Please don't jinx us. And it went over. I knew it went over because I went to the forward club for that game. I hadn't gone in a while, so I figured I should come in and stay for one. And I ended up talking to Coach Glazer's, I think, significant other, Sarah, who I didn't realize that until he came in. And she's like, where'd you come up with that? It's like, that was really fun. It's like, Matt is a big Lord of the Rings fan, which I didn't know.
I did not know that either.
So when he came in, I asked him, like, did you like that? He's like, oh yeah, no, let's keep doing it.
That's funny. That's good.
Love it.
Everyone in Breeze Stevens does work together to get the 3 points. I really do appreciate going to Breeze, even from the ladies pouring the beer, or like the guest relations. It seems like everybody is in the knowledge about soccer and knows how to do what their little job is to help the team go on. Are you a big soccer guy, or do you more come from the PA and public announcement angle? Or how did you get to here?
Without waffling, I would say it's a bit of both. I played soccer growing up. I was young when MLS came into being, and so I got to watch those first really good Chicago Fire teams with DeMarcus Beasley, Peter Novak, Brian McBride. That was something that you could hang your hat on. And, soccer has been a thing in Chicago going back to the indoor league and the Sting. But I fell off after I stopped playing, and when those Fire teams went a little south. The 2010 World Cup is really what drew me back in to being a soccer fan and finding my own team. Everybody has kind of their overseas team, so I ended up picking one there. But I'd been doing PA and broadcast, striving for broadcast, still trying to get any broadcast work that I can. But I've been doing a bit of that regularly since 2011. Started out with roller derby, which I still do, and then picked up some other sports in the past few years. I do work for my high school in Chicago, St. Ignatius, for soccer, football, basketball, volleyball, all over the map. And so when I was looking up, I knew I'd done the job for the Ultimate Frisbee team here. And the job application came out on Teamwork, which is for sports broadcasters. People were looking for a job in sports, and I met with then it was Taylor and Kylie, and got hired that way. So I had a soccer background, but it wasn't, I wouldn't call myself, knowing the people who are at Forward and knowing the people I know, I wouldn't call myself a big soccer fan.
Sure. Yeah, I got you. Who is your overseas team?
Okay, this is funny. Sheffield Wednesday.
That is funny. Nice. There you go. How did you end up with them?
As I said, there's a story there.
So when I picked a team, I didn't want to go with the front runner. That's being a White Sox fan. That's never been my area of choice. So that knocked off Man U, Man City, even. My friend I was living with I had a friend from high school is a big Chelsea fan, but I didn't want to do that. And so I was pretty much like, okay, maybe I go outside the Premier League. Maybe I go outside the top flight. And so I looked a level down to see if there was any teams that stuck out. And I think that year, Leeds was down, Nottingham Forest, which is like they're on the ascendancy. But my second criteria is like, well, my father was Jamaican. So is there any team with any Jamaican players? And Jermaine Johnson, I looked up a list of Jamaican players and found that he was playing on this team, Sheffield Wednesday, which immediately caught my eyes. Like, how is there a team named Sheffield Wednesday? And I looked into them. Not only did they have Jermaine Johnson, they had this cool story about their ground that they played at since 1895. They started off as a cricket club, which also interests me. I just watched a really good documentary on cricket. And the Michael Palin evidently was a fan of them. There's a scene in his one of his travel shows where he picks up an old trophy that some fishermen pulled up and says, Sheffield Wednesday. So I went with it. It's been fantastic. The supporters group, they have a lot of American supporters, and everybody is very welcoming. I asked, how do I listen to games? And everybody immediately is like, here's how you do it. Here's how you get to iFollow. Here's how you get to the app. And then I got the chance to go over for a game in 2018.
Nice.
They went down to 9 men, if you believe it, and they lost 3-0. But everybody at the stadium and everybody outside Hillsborough was fantastic. So I love it. And we've had a tough couple of years, but ownership's just changed to a group in Northbrook, coincidentally. And I feel good about our chances at the ultimate goal, which has always been getting back to the Premier League.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
That's
what a
awesome.
story. What a team.
I love it. Little Sheffield Wednesday trivia for you. Current Dane County clerk, Scott McDonald, actually had a tryout with Sheffield Wednesday.
Really?
Years, like in the early 80s. Like he played for the Badgers.
Good.
He played for the Badgers. He was a goalkeeper for the Badgers in the 80s and did a little stint in England and got a tryout with Wednesday, before Premier League, obviously. Anyway, so you also you went to J school.
Yeah.
Bradley Medill, which is like the J school, right?
For graduate school. Yeah.
What role does journalism play in what you do?
The most significant thing for me is being exact. So we talk about pronunciations. And I got the chance to tell Kafala this, because I'll follow up with the guys over it after the game and it's like, hey, am I saying your name right? And I tell them it's because not only do I hear sometimes where professionals, like longtime professionals, they'll get a name wrong. And I feel like that is a credibility issue at that point. It's like you might have done this research on the game. You might know the tendencies of players, team tactics, all of that adds into the game. But if you say somebody's name wrong and you don't fix it, at least, then I feel like you didn't prepare yourself. You didn't do your job. Your main thing is to correctly identify the people on the field. And the guys that I talk to, I tell them, it's like, hey, I know that it might not matter to you. I don't know how much you watch back the game itself and you're listening for the commentary, but your mom probably is, or your grandparents, cousins, aunts, uncles, and they hear that and they're like, oh, well, who is this guy? How did he mess my baby's name up? And so I really want that to be part of my process. You vet things, you track it down. If I hear somebody say the name once, I'm going to check again to make sure, find another source, find more sources, find more sources. So you get things as right as you possibly can. And then there's something to be said, I think, for immediacy versus accuracy, which is a big question in journalism, has been since the kind of the dawn of 24-hour news.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as I do want to get fans the information quickly, like yellow cards and things like that in the booth, we don't have our communication with the red hat on the near sideline is a little slow sometimes. So we check, and I'll check again. I want to make sure I have it exactly right before I say it, because I could see the referee say point to what looks like Jackson Castro, but it could be Roman.
Uh-huh.
And if I haven't seen the number, or if I haven't seen an actual gotten the communication like, oh, this is who got the yellow card, then I'm waiting to say it. So if there's ever a delay and people are wondering, that's the reason why. I want to make sure I've got it right.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. You must love the cow kits then, huh?
I love all the kits that the teams had. I think the ones that are most successful are the best ones. So I liked how everybody enjoyed the tartan ones, because we got a little run of success in those.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. The cow kits aren't the worst. They absolutely are not the worst. I think the ones, anytime we play a team where their primary color is green and then their secondary color is blue, that just somehow makes things impossible. I'll tell you this is a different sport, but for Ultimate Frisbee, Chicago has a rivalry with Minnesota, as you might expect. And Minnesota's uniforms are main colors are black and white with a kind of a light blue number base. Those are impossible to read at any sort of distance. So you have to look, and this is a trick I picked up from Dennis Michelson in that league. Shout out to Dennis. He's a veteran, really good. I'll always write down sock length, sock color, boot color, something to distinguish who the player is. And you try to get it for the forwards and the midfielders, since they're probably the ones who are going to be scoring. But anything I'll write down on the paper, and sometimes it'll be like, it's like long dreads parted to one side. It's like, that's how I know who that is. Anything that you can then pick out to make somebody identifiable, because things happen so fast, so quickly. Balls are bouncing around the box. You've got to be, that's the thing, you want to be exact. So that helps me be accurate.
We've had a couple of the ESPN Plus TV guys on the show over the past years, and that's one thing they say too, is they look at shoe color and hair. Yeah. To be able to immediately identify who's who without having to rely on numbers. But what everything you just said is intriguing to me, because I'm a journalist in my day job, so like I appreciate that. That this is third division American soccer that 10 years ago would not have been taken seriously. It still isn't really taken seriously by a lot of people. But these guys are obviously taking it seriously. This is their life's work to do this, and Matt Glazer's taking it seriously, and the club's taking it seriously, and it's just really, and we're doing this podcast to try to make it the best we can, and to hear that you're taking it that seriously in the booth is really I don't know, it's just great to hear.
I appreciate that, Rob. It's my job, right? Like you're saying, these are the players. The players' job is to go out there and do the best they possibly can. And same for the staff, is to do the best they can at getting things ready, making the experience good for everybody, getting the sponsorships in, keeping the club running. And my job for a couple of hours every week or so is to do the same. So be clear, be engaging, be funny when it's required, be project. My mom would always say, project, breathe from the diaphragm. And be accurate, be exact. If we make sure that if they say this, and this is always an issue, because they will bring the board up and bring it down quick for stoppage time. Make sure you look at the board with about 89 and a half on the clock, so you know exactly how many minutes we're going to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's, I take it seriously for any time I come in the booth and I clock in and the microphone's in front of me, whether it's high school. Roller derby is a volunteer sport, so nobody's ever getting paid for that, but I've always tried to do my absolute best job. And my friends and colleagues will tell you, I'm the hardest on myself with this. If I miss something, I take it back with me. And they'll be like, no, it was like, it sounded like it was a great game. It sounded like you did really well. And I was like, well, I missed this, or I had to go back and correct this. And so I'm always trying to get better. Even if we've had a game that was great, I always think I could have done better in some way. And so that's why I try to keep improving, adding in new languages, maybe adjusting some reads, maybe saying some things a little bit differently.
Do you have a podcast also?
Yes, it's dormant right now, but
okay.
I want to come back to it. It's called What's Good Radio. That was the name of my radio show on the undergrad college radio station, and I've kept it. And I restarted it during the pandemic. That was the last good run of episodes where I was just talking to people about what they did and what they found good about it, because it was a pandemic. We kind of needed a pick me up.
Yeah, for real. And are you from Chicago originally?
Yep. Yeah, born and raised on the South Side. That's why.
Awesome.
That's why I got
and that led to your love of Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly.
The listeners know, but I'll just tell you, I don't know if you see the Fulham. I stayed in the Premier League, but I chose Fulham for that same reason, because I grew up as a Green Bay Packer fan in the 1980s when they were terrible. And so, like, consistent mediocrity is where I'm comfortable. So Fulham has never won anything. They're always 11th in the table, you know. And when I picked up, Clint Dempsey was also playing there, so like that was a thing. But yeah, the misery of sport fandom is a real thing, right? Like is something we choose.
It makes the highs higher. That's the whole
100%, 100%. All right. Anything else from you, Ethan?
No, I think Chris has answered all our questions. I really appreciate a peek into the life of the PA guy. Yes, this has been really, really fun to get to know Chris, and we will see you Saturday, or we'll hear you Saturday for sure.
Yeah, I'm excited. I will say, I don't know if it came up, but my favorite promotion that we've had in my time has been the Sandlot one, because these baseball jerseys, I love these things, man.
Those are nice, right?
Fantastic. And it was cool that we had we got the guy out for the game from the movie. I think everybody got a big kick out of that.
That was great. And it's kind of sad they haven't done those as many this year. They haven't done the sort of the B-list celebrity, the wrestling guy or the guy from The Office, where they just haven't done that this year as much. And I can understand why. It's probably an expense and a hassle, but yeah, I kind of miss those a little bit.
There'll be more coming. You know, there's always something that our front office staff is cooking up. That's why I enjoy it.
Yep, they've always got something up their sleeve. All right, Chris Pennant, again, thank you so much for the time. It's been really fun.
Thanks a lot, guys. It's been a blast. Thanks for having me on.
All right, see you later. All right, we're going to go around the league. First, we're going to go around the cup real briefly, because there were a couple of teams from our league still alive in the quarterfinals. The two matches that didn't involve USO League One teams were Lou City and Tampa Bay, played to a 0-0 draw, with Lou City going through 5-3 on penalties. And then in the other quarterfinal there, San Antonio beat Miami FC 2-1. In one of the matches that did involve USO League One, it was Charlotte hosting Hartford, the defending Cup champion. Hartford Athletic won this one 4-2, dominated the early going, finally broke through in the 22nd minute. Long ball coming in over the top all the way to the end line. Augustine Williams just brilliantly volleyed it back across the face of goal to the foot of Sadat Anaku for a tap in, also on a volley. And then it was Anaku again in the 36th. Bad giveaway at the back for Charlotte. Leaves him all alone against a scrambling goalkeeper, and he buried it to double the lead. Charlotte finally got a shot on target in first half stoppage time, but in the second half, Hartford picked up right where they left off. 56th minute, Emmanuel Samaria getting a cross in from the left channel, and Adewale Obalola cleverly flicking it in at the near post. The fourth nearly came. Luis Alvarez had the ball and put his hand up to indicate he was injured, as we mentioned. And everyone from Charlotte stopped, but the whistle never blew. So Hartford just took the ball and danced into the box and got past the keeper. That shot was cleared off the line, however. They did get a fourth to really put the game out of reach a few minutes later in the 67th. Michael Adedokun taking a free kick from the right wing, basically a short corner kick, and that goes all the way across to the head of Augustine Williams, who puts it in. Charlotte got a lifeline in the 72nd. Matisse Gouffroy putting a ball into the box. It hits Hartford defender Jordan Scarlett directly in the chest, and somehow it deflected in for an own goal. And Riud Manin would also get one more back in the 85th on a cutback from Clay Dimmick, but it was really too little too late, and Hartford moves on to the semifinals.
Yeah. Yeah, Spokane was also eliminated from the Brinks Tires Cup on penalties in Colorado Springs. The 2024 USL Championship winners were perfect from the penalty spot, and unfortunately, Spokane matched them all the way, stride for stride, until the last kick of the game. Defender Ibrahim Covey completely shanked his fifth penalty, fell over. Just a really bummer way for Spokane to crash out of the cup. I don't know that you can say they crashed out of the cup, considering they were in the last 8, which is pretty good for a League One team. But had they won, they would have kept the entire... Oh, go ahead.
And they play Colorado Springs to a 1-1 draw after 90 minutes. That's pretty good.
Yeah, both teams, both goals were good. Had they won, they would have kept the entire prize for being the last League One team standing. Instead, they split that prize with Charlotte. Is it a $100,000 prize?
That's what it is for the U.S. Open Cup. I don't know what it is for the Brinks Cup.
Okay.
I think it's something close to that for the U.S. Open Cup. I'm not sure what the Brinks Cup is, but yeah, good for them. And so then now the next day they have the draw for the semifinals, and it's going to be Tuesday, September 8th at the semifinals. Colorado Springs go to Hartford at 6, and then Lou City at San Antonio at 7:30. Now turning back to this past weekend's USL League One action. Cosmos beat Alta 1-0. What? Cosmos very nearly took the lead early as a bad giveaway at the back left Sebastian Guinzati all alone in the box, but Alta keeper Denzel Smith made an incredible save to push it off the post, and it goes to the break 0-0. Guinzati would get the winner just after the hour mark, one timing a cross in from Lamine Janway. Cosmos could have had a couple more, but Smith was really up to the task, and Alta didn't really get anything going on the other end. Worth noting that AV Alta striker Jerry Desdunes went out injured in the 8th minute, so we'll see if he's back anytime soon.
Yeah, that makes sense as to why they couldn't score.
Yep.
Connor McGlynn led Westchester over FC Naples 3-2. He assisted a goal that was called back for offsides before finishing a corner that somehow trundled through all the way to the back post, where McGlynn was waiting and finished across Lalo Delgado's goal. Kyle Evans assisted Jonathan Jimenez for Westchester's second, and Piero Elias scored the third in 10 minutes off a set-piece rebound shot deflection. McGlynn had a shot from midfield saved by Delgado's fingertips in that time as well, so it really could have been 4-0 in 10 minutes. Instead, Westchester led by 3 going into halftime. Naples did score 2 to get the game back to being interesting. They converted a penalty, and then Nicholas Likiula scored a pretty good back heel coming across the goal and in on the sideways. However, that's how it finished 3-2. So Naples drops and Westchester takes all the points.
We need Chris Pennant to come back and help us with some of these pronunciations.
Yeah.
And as we mentioned, Charlotte was without their leading scorer, Luis Alvarez, who went out injured in that Brinks Tires Cup match. However, they still poured in 3 goals in the first 15 minutes and held on to beat Sarasota 3-1. First, it was Sega Koulibaly with a diagonal ball to the wing, and John Becerra with a volley back across the box to the head of Suebo Maru. He knotted it in. That was in the 2nd minute. Then it was John Becerra getting himself on the score sheet in the 8th minute. Christopher Jaime picking the ball off the foot of a Sarasota defender, Joseph Skinner, carrying into the box, rolling a nice easy ball across the 6 for Becerra to tap in. Really poor defending from Sarasota on that one, if we're being honest. And then as Jaime going from assister to scorer in the 14th, picking up a weak clearance attempt at the edge of the area and unleashing a screamer to make it 3-0 while some fans were still finding their seats. Sarasota got one back late on. Emiliano Tazaghi playing it ahead for Roberto Burlo, who crosses it back in and right into the side netting at the far post to get Sarasota on the board accidentally. It was definitely a cross that kind of found its way in. One last note on this one, Sarasota midfielder Aaron Walker earned a yellow card in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, then immediately got a second for expressing his opinion of the first one, got sent off, and will therefore be unavailable for Sarasota's Wednesday home match against Chattanooga.
I see. Later on Saturday, Greenville scored first, but One Knox equalized with the very last header of the game to split the points in Greenville. Just like he did in Madison, Moba Noir finished off a counterattack that took Greenville 6 passes and about 15 seconds to go from back to front of the goal.
Wow.
Knoxville weathered the storm. They did concede a goal that eventually was disallowed in the 84th minute before the ball finally found Nico Rosamilia's head at 94:45 after he snuck in behind the green back line. And it really was like the last head of the game. And then, of course, they restart in 2 passes and that was it. So unfortunately, Greenville cannot beat Knoxville in what would have been a huge upset. Instead, it's just a 1-1 draw in Greenville.
That's brutal to give up an equalizer like that at home.
Yeah.
And in Fort Wayne, it's Chattanooga 2, Fort Wayne 1. Ryan Betcher gets the hosts Fort Wayne on the board first on the half-hour mark, popping in a corner from Javier Armas. They would nearly get a second. Chattanooga keeper was forced into an amazing save on a blistering shot from Teg Healy, but the Red Wolves would respond early in the second half for Papa Mensah, moving away from the center of the pitch to get a little space from 2 defenders on him and turned it around to whip in a tall looping ball all the way across the goal, and Giannis Lalin tapping it in on a brilliant volley at the far post. Grayson Mercer got the winner in the 82nd. A long cross comes in over everybody and gets flicked on and then hits a Fort Wayne defender, Michael Rumpel, right in the chest, and he knew nothing about it. Like, it just hit him while he was standing there, and it fell back right down to Grayson Mercer's foot. He's there to tap it in. Not quite an own goal, but maybe like an own assist. I don't know if that's a thing. But anyway, Fort Wayne came without about an inch from leveling it and getting a point in stoppage time. Javier Armas taking a free kick from about 25 yards out, completely froze the keeper, went off the inside of the post and out, and this one finishes 2-1 to Chattanooga.
Woof. That's too bad. Yeah, a lot of close games, including Corpus Christi, who broke into Spokane and snatched the 3 points after they were behind 2-1 late. Bubu Medina equalized in the 80th minute. A cross from the right channel, played by Sam Roscoe-Byrne, found Medina at the back post for the first score. And then Jake Keegan volleyed home the winner in the 94th minute. The set piece was from just about the same as that first goal in the 80th. It was the right channel, kind of deep, and the set piece taker looped it over, was headed back from the second post across the face of Sean Lewis's goal to Jake Keegan's foot, and he smashed it home for the win. So Corpus Christi over Spokane to get even closer for them to make the playoff line.
And finally on Sunday, if we want to make a push for the Shield, we need Omaha to drop some points now and then, but honestly didn't have very high hopes of that happening with the Richmond Kickers in town. Omaha comes away with a 5-1 victory. The Owls got 3 goals in the span of 8 minutes. First in the 28th from Sergio Ores Navarro, taking a brilliant dribble to get himself a foot of space to slot it in. And then in the 34th, Ores Navarro again takes a lovely long ball in the box, gives it a very cheeky flick over his own shoulder to Aron Gomez, who has no choice but to finish, given the cleverness of the assist. Then in the 38th, it's Gomez with the cross, and Richmond defender Sean Vinberg, trying to clear it, sent it straight into his own net instead. It really looked like he was trying to score. It was a very, very weird, unusual-looking own goal. Richmond did get one back. Tyler Freeman showed some tremendous individual skills to dribble past 2 defenders and get into the box and play it across from Matthew Baldock to tap in. That was just before halftime, but if you thought that would give Richmond any momentum, you'd be wrong. Diego Gutierrez stretched the Omaha lead back to 3 in the 67th with Alan Gavilanes carrying to the end line and slotting it right across the face of goal for Gutierrez to tap in and make it 4-1. Let me tell you right now, Omaha are making those goals, those drive to the end line, slotted across and a low cross very close to the goal line. They're making those goals look very, very easy. Gavilanes got one for himself in the 90th. That same kind of cross, the low cross comes in from the end line, and Jan Filion, the Richmond goalkeeper, got a hand to it, but basically just gave it right to Alan Gavilanes for an easy goal to finish it off 5-1. So Omaha take all 3 points and stay at the top of the table. They're on 44 points. Charlotte just behind them at 42, and Fort Madison just behind them at 39. Knoxville in 4th at 37. Boise in 5th with 34. Spokane and Alta both on 32 points. though Spokane has 4 games in hand on Alta. Alta has 23 games already played. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
And then running, so you can almost not consider them a playoff team at this point. But then Chattanooga rounds out the top 8 on 31 points. Now looking ahead to this weekend, Wednesday night, Knoxville hosts Portland. Chattanooga goes to Sarasota. New York Cosmos go to Corpus Christi, who are really hot right now. Ayman Zayed has got that team turned around. Good for them. Then on Saturday, Chattanooga hosts the Cosmos. Portland goes to Richmond. Sarasota go to Union Omaha. That's another one that the Owls should probably win, unfortunately. Knoxville hosting Boise. That'll be a good match. The big match of the night, I think, is in Madison. Charlotte against us. Corpus Christi hosting Westchester. Spokane hosting Greenville. And in USL League One After Dark, FC Naples goes to Lancaster, California to take on AV Alta at 10 o'clock. That brings us to stoppage time. Ethan, tell us about the amazing thing you found on YouTube.
Yeah, so the latest Forward Madison meme has dropped. I noticed that USL on YouTube, their channel, put together a Ryan Carmichael Player of the Week compilation. Unfortunately, the thumbnail is a picture of Kevin Carmichael. So it appears that the USL is dreaming that our whole team is Carmichaels. It's been posted on Reddit, so if you'd like to put some words or make an edit to the meme, I'm sure everyone in the Forward Madison fandom is going to go crazy with that.
Yes, fantastic. All right, we'll be in at Breese Stevens Field on Saturday for a huge match. I hope you're there with us, and have a great week until then. And as always, up the goes.
Here we goes.
The 608 Soccer Show is part of the 365 Media Network, hosted by Rob Chappell and Ethan Maurice, produced by Rob Chappell, with a theme song by Rob Dees. Follow the show on Instagram and Blue Sky at 608 Soccer, and remember to subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast app.